Of what advantage, therefore, is it to pretend that they can? The bibliographical guidance in Chapter 4 is thus restricted as much as possible to English works. A unique feature of this book is found in Chapter 3, which outlines an abbreviated, limited-time exegetical format for pastors. At least in a general way, seminary students usually learn how to produce formal exegesis term papers, based on dozens of hours of research and writing. But no one tells them how they can transfer that ability to the weekly preaching task, where perhaps only a few hours may be available for the exegesis part of the sermon preparation. Exegesis can be done responsibly, even if not exhaustively, in a few hours' time. The pastor should first try to understand the fuller form of the guide in Chapter 1. Chapter 3 represents a condensation and economization of the same material, with special attention paid to homiletical interests. Those aspiring Old Testament exegetes who know no Hebrew should still be able to make good use of the guidance given here. But there can be no denying that at least some knowledge of Hebrew is a precious advantage for student and pastor alike. I have done everything possible to encourage those whose Hebrew is weak to use it anyway. The helps discussed in Chapter 4 can go a long way toward overcoming the disadvantages, especially via computer concordances that can instantly provide a range of Hebrew to English resources, once found only at great effort. Indeed, the pastor who faithfully works from the biblical languages in sermon preparation, no matter how rusty one's knowledge of them may be at the start, cannot help gaining more and more language mastery as time goes by. I hope this primer will encourage many to try. For this 5th edition, I have added, deleted, or further described many reference works, especially in Chapter 4, so as to reflect what is actually available in print. I have also updated the listings of works that have appeared in new editions and included additional information on electronic and online databases and other resources. Thus, this 5th edition is substantially revised and expanded. I remain grateful to my students John Beckman and Robert Jennings, as well as my friend and particularly gifted librarian James Darlick, for their opinions on how best to describe the actual usage of some of the newer online bibliographic databases and public repositories referred to in this latest edition. It is a joy to work with students and colleagues who love learning and want others to share their delight. I am also grateful to Julie Mullins, a kind, patient, and skillful editor who has worked with me on behalf of a wonderful publisher, Westminster John Knox Press. The widespread use of the first 4 editions, including their foreign language translations, has been very gratifying and is evidence of an ongoing hunger for preaching and teaching based accurately and confidently in the Scriptures. Introduction. An exegesis is a thorough analytical study of a biblical passage done so as to arrive at a useful interpretation of the passage. Exegesis is a theological task, but not a mystical one. There are certain basic rules and standards for how to do it, although the results can vary in appearance because the biblical passages themselves vary so much. To do OT exegesis properly, you have to be something of a generalist. You will quickly become involved with such things as the functions of meanings of words, linguistics, the analysis of literature and speech, philology, theology, history, the transmission of the biblical writings, textual criticism, stylistics, grammar and vocabulary analysis, and the spiritually powerful application of biblical truth in real ways to the real lives of people. Natural intuitive skills are helpful, but no substitute for the hard work of careful first-hand research. Exegesis is a process that can be quite dull. Its results, fortunately, can often be exciting. Exciting or not, the results should always at least be of genuine practical value to the believer. If not, something is wrong with the exegesis. Although this book is a primer and hardly an exhaustive analysis of exegetical presuppositions or techniques, it ought to serve you well if your reason for learning exegesis is eventually to apply its benefits in Christian preaching.